Well, this next woman, man, I could take the whole time honoring her. There's certain things that I would honor her with that are not appropriate for you all to hear. You know what I'm saying? But but what I do want to say about my wife, if you've been with our church long enough, this never happens. My wife is not the woman that is got all the words. She's not that leader type that always wants to talk. But man, is she just a steady presence of the faith in Jesus, that he is good. And so when she has a word, boy, I listen. You know what I'm saying? I'm excited about this word. My wife is somebody who is just so solid. You know, she just has faith in Jesus. She just absorbs the hits and just keeps going. She's never going to be super high, never going to be super low. She's just going to be super steady. She knows what is true, and she lives in what is true. And so I'm honored to be her husband. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like Scott, we married up. You know what I mean? Married up. She's a grace in my life, and she is an incredible mom. I can testify day in and day out. And so, baby, Mike is yours.
All right, so as mentioned, I've just been so encouraged by everybody's testimonies in these past weeks that I felt the nudging of God to share. But as he said, this is not my thing. So after multiple confirmations, here I am today. So, and it's very appropriate because 24 years ago on Mother's Day, Jesus literally saved my life. So I would say that I grew up going to church. I didn't grow up in the church because looking back, I didn't really have any kind of relationship with Jesus. I went to hang out with my friends, sing some songs, check out the guys, and have some fun. And I understood following Jesus as being good and obeying all the rules. Don't lie, don't steal, don't have sex. By the time I finished high school, I had a better grasp of who Jesus was, but more importantly, I finally experienced his love for me. I can't remember anything in particular, but I know that I would always leave those retreats crying and transformed for like a week. But I felt a different kind of joy that I hadn't before, the kind where things didn't bother me as much and I could see the good in everyone around me. Fast forward to college, where I was exposed to freedom. I had been unleashed into a world without rules, or at least my parents' rules. I started partying and getting into all kinds of hot mess with guys. I was trying to fill the God-shaped hole in my heart with relationship after relationship and fling after fling. By the time senior year rolled around, I thought I had it all. Great friends, good grades, my swimming accomplishments, plans to move to DC and start a career, but deep down, I felt empty. I was happy, but I didn't feel any joy, not like I had from those church retreats when I had experienced God's love. I wanted to come back to Jesus, but I didn't think he would take me back. I had denied him, broken almost every commandment, and felt ashamed and guilty of my sins. I didn't believe that God could really forgive me, that he would love and accept me with all the mistakes that I had made and knowing that I would make more. And to be honest, I wasn't ready to surrender my life to him. The pleasures of my life outweighed the guilt of my sin. Then on Mother's Day in 1997, my girlfriends and I were taking one last trip before graduation to hike the Grand Canyon. We drove in the middle of the night so that we could beat the heat, and about 5:30 a.m., as we were on the road, a coyote darted out onto Route 66, and my friend instinctively swerved. Our van rolled off the highway about 3 times, fortunately landing on its wheels. And it felt like I was being thrown around like a rag doll, and I even had my seatbelt on. When we finally stopped moving, I couldn't feel anything from the waist down, and I was stuck in the back seat of the van. It was in that moment that I heard God say in my heart, "Choose me or die." And without hesitation, I said, "Okay, but please help me out of here." So I was air-vac'd out of Kingman County, Arizona, back to Huntington Memorial in Pasadena, just a few minutes away from my parents' house, and I spent 30 days in the hospital. My femur broke completely in half. My hip and pelvis were fractured in multiple areas, and my knee was torn out and filled with gravel from the road. I was hooked up to a morphine drip for the first week because they were trying to straighten out my femur with a 40-pound weight pulleyed to the bottom of my leg bone. The doctors didn't think I would walk again, let alone have kids. And they couldn't get my 104 plus fever down from all the infections. But through it all, I knew God was with me. He was the only one there in the middle of the excruciatingly painful nights, through the multiple surgeries, and my tortured memories of reliving the accident. I cried out to him and he answered me. I remember singing the worship songs that I had learned back in middle school, praying that the enemy would not beat me, and feeling his presence when I reached out to him. I had never experienced Jesus in all those years before like I had in those 30 days in the hospital. Jesus had my back and he rescued me. He gave me new life spiritually, emotionally, and physically. But looking back from a different perspective, my mom got a call on Mother's Day that her daughter was in a serious accident in Arizona without any other information. She had to wait over 10 hours before she could see me at the hospital in Pasadena. She had the strength not to cry when she saw me, but broke down after they rolled me into the ICU. As a mom now, I cannot even imagine getting a phone call like that and seeing my child in so much pain and not being able to do anything. And yet I know that it was all for the glory of God that it happened. When I became a mom, I was terrified of messing up my kids. And as parents, you know, when you have a child, you really find out how selfish you are. I had to keep a human alive, well, 3 humans. And so nothing was my own, not my body, not my time, not my interests, not even my expectations. Everything I did for my kids, and it was hard. They're cute when they're sleeping, but then they wake up and they need to be fed and changed and entertained and steered away from light sockets. There were tantrums, accidents, then fighting and biting, Jaden. And of course, we experience joy and unconditional love. But like they say, the days are long and the years are short. When Josiah was 3 and Jaden was 1, I had finally come to the end of my very short rope. I can't even remember what happened that day, but I remember walking up those steps to our Lincoln Park apartment, dropping off the boys, and telling Chris that I was done. And then I walked out the door. Thankfully, Scott was there and told Chris to go after me, thinking I had just walked out on my family. But I just needed to be by myself. So I started driving down the freeway, and I ended up at the Getty Museum, of all places. I couldn't even remember the last time that I had stepped foot into a museum, because, toddlers and expensive art don't go together. But anyways, as I was walking around one of the rooms, I saw all these beautiful paintings of Mary and Jesus at different stages of life. And I was reminded that Jesus was a baby too, who became a toddler. I mean, I know he was perfect and he probably never had a tantrum, although I would like to think that it would have been a righteous tantrum. But that really spoke to me. He became human flesh in the form of a baby boy, like my little boys. And then I saw Mary. She was his mom. She went through everything I was going through, at least with her other kids. And it gave me hope to know that there was strength and beauty in the person that she was. I often think of the sacrifices I make as a mom and how it continues to evolve. Instead of poopy diapers, I'm driving them all around town, still waking up early and going to bed late, but I'm helping them navigate their life choices, counseling them through heartbreak, giving up that last piece of fill in the blank, and going to the bathroom in peace. Well, that hasn't changed. The only thing I can count on is that Jesus still has my back, that I've done my best to model who Jesus is and trust that he will take care of them like he always has for me. I'm reminded of the sacrificial love spoken in Philippians 2, 1-4. It reads, "Therefore, if you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from his love, if any common sharing in the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and of one mind. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interest of others. It has been a complete joy to sacrifice for my children, and I know it completes the joy of the Lord. When we see our sacrifices as joy, then we will truly experience the fullness of God's purpose for our lives. I know that I'm not the perfect mom, but all I have done and can ever do is stay close to Jesus and pray that it rubs off. In the Mission of Motherhood, Sally Clarkson sums it up best with this statement: "My children will become treasures in heaven if they indeed learn to love God and serve him with their whole hearts." And that is my prayer for them. And the only way that I can have confidence in this is if I do the same. So on this Mother's Day, I wanted to end with this newborn's conversation with God. A baby asked God, "They tell me you are sending me to earth tomorrow, but how am I going to live there being so small and helpless?" God said, "Your angel will be waiting for you and will take care of you." The child further inquired, "But tell me, here in heaven, I don't have to do anything but sing and smile to be happy." God said, "Your angel will sing for you, and will also smile for you, and you will feel your angel's love and be very happy." Again, the child asked, "And how am I going to be able to understand when people talk to me if I don't know the language?" God said, "Your angel will tell you the most beautiful and sweet words you will ever hear, and with much patience and care, your angel will teach you how to speak." "And what am I going to do when I want to talk to you?" God said, "Your angel will place your hands together and will teach you how to pray." "Well, who will protect me?" God said, "Your angel will defend you even if it means risking its life." "But I will always be sad because I will not see you anymore." God said, "Your angel will always talk to you about me and will teach you the way to come back to me, even though I will always be next to you." At that moment, there was much peace in heaven, but voices from earth could be heard, and the child hurriedly asked, "God, if I am to leave now, please tell me my angel's name." And God said, "You will simply call her Mom." Jesus, thank you so much for all the mothers that are here. Thank you that you have chosen us to be mothers to our children, that we would trust your plans and purposes for our kids and experience the fullness of your joy through sacrifice. May we embrace the trials, the joys, the tiredness, and the hopes so that our children will become treasures in heaven. That as we love you, follow you, and serve you, our children will be influenced to do the same. Amen.